Okay, so now let's start to put some branch. So we already have a node called branch here, but it's actually for the trunk. Um, we can rename it, for example, trunk extension, if we want to just organize it a little bit more. So let's create some branch. So if I right click on this node and add some more geometry, I can go in the branches presets, and there is a preset with bifurcating branch. So it will automatically add some branches to our trunks, and it's using the mode bifurcation. So how is this mode working? It's actually looking at some noise and some bending in the initial branch, and it tried to put some branch where there is a big bifurcation. So if I increase the noise, for example, on the parents, so if I go on the spine and increase the late noise, I will be more likely to have some branches generated where there is some broken area. So it's not just like it. We also have some more control. So if I go in the generation, there is a spacing. So if I decrease the spacing, it's gonna put some more branch, and it's gonna be sensitive based on the threshold. So if I increase the threshold, it's gonna only put some branches where there is big change in the directions. So it's not always super predictable, but it can work well to make some natural kind of bifurcation in the branches, like if there were some split in the branch. So this is pretty good to start with. I will just recreate the node because I just broke a bit the parameters, reduce the noise, and let's just recreate the bifurcating branch. There is other modes that you can use, but for the branches here, for now, it's going to be the one we are going to use. So there is a lot of generating rules here, and some of them are good for leaves, some of them are good for small branches, some of them are good for twigs. So we're going to use different ones for the other ones, but for now, let's stick with this method. When you generate some branches like that on a main trunk, you want a few different controls. So if I go here in the generation tab, if I go down here on the first and last, it's gonna choose from which percentage of the trunk I'm gonna start to put some branches and when I need to stop. So here, if I raise the first, it's just gonna start creating some branches much higher in the tree. If I reduce it, it's gonna start generating some branches right at the beginning. So here it's the control about where you want to have your branch to born. Also, we can also use this extended parent option because for now it's not adding branches here. So if you want to actually hand branch with some more, hand the trunk with one more branch, you could also choose here the any option. So it's just gonna add branches to finishes actually the trunk in a more decreasing size. Okay, so now we might want to add some length variations. So if I go in the spine here, you see that the size of the branches are actually linked to the parent size. So for now, it's just 50% of the parent size. If I want, I could add some variations, like for example, 0.1 or 0.2. So it's going to make a variation between 0.7 and 0.3. So you have a random chances of having different lengths of branches like that. So it's up to you to decide how much randomness you want to in this area, because it's going to change a bit the look of the tree, because the main branches are actually pretty important to determine the actual shape of the main tree. Okay, so this is for the variations. Another important parameter here is the start angle. So here you see that there is some start angle already. If I just play with it, I can choose from which angle the branches start to grow on the tree. So it's also one very important parameter to define the shape of your tree. And also you have the gravity. So if I put negative gravity, I can, for example, say that I have a very big start angle and a negative gravity that's gonna put the branches, make the branches go upward after a while, because the gravity here you see is actually driven based on the length of the branch. So for example, by default, there is no gravity applied at the base of the branch and a lot of gravity applied at the end. So you can just play with these attributes to have some start of your branch, then go up. So for now, maybe we can go a bit more quiet with the gravity and maybe decrease a bit the start angle. So I want to have a branch going upward mainly, but I like to have this kind of starting a bit low. So for now, maybe it's a bit up. And also you have a control on this one. Like you can choose, like for example, the upper branches, they can go slightly directly up, and the first branch, they can have more of the effect of the start angle. So here it's based on the trunk extension, based on the height of the trunk extension, it's gonna have more or less of the start angle attributes applied to it. So this is the way to actually drive this attribute. Okay, so now it's not looking too bad. If we look now, we've generated a lot of branches, and most probably some of them are interpenetrating each other. It's a bit hard to see, but due to the number of branches, I'm pretty sure some of them are penetrating each other's. There is a way actually to prevent that from happening. I'm going to show you this technique, even though I'm not going to end up using it, but it can be very convenient in some occasions. So I can do a force with the first trunk and use this force to repel the other growing branches to like to avoid the next bifurcating branches to penetrate the trunk actually. So if I right click on the generator, I can make geometry force from selected. So it's going to generate a new force, which is going to take its name from the node for now. So I could rename it if I want, but I will just keep the same name as the generator. And I'm going to generate another force for the branches as well. So you can actually make a force for the generator that's going to repel himself. So let's create another one here. So make geometry force from selected again. And let's say, okay, let's keep this name like that. And we are going to change the attribute of these forces. So now if I click here on the forces and go on my trunk extension, you can see here the parameters of my force, and the behavior of this force is going to be attracting for now. So if I were to use it, the branches would actually be attracted by the trunk. I want the opposite, so I will choose the avoid method. And you can choose what happens when a branch actually reaches this force. You can either kill the branch, stop it, or just obstruct it. So if you obstruct it, it's just gonna kind of stop and move around. So yeah, this is the behavior we want. And we do the same for the bifurcating branches. So we keep avoid. Okay. So for now, the forces exist, but they have no effect on our generators because we haven't set the bifurcating branches to use the forces. So now that I'm on this generator, I can go on the force tab, and I see that the forces here have been added to the list. So if I add the trunk extension force, you see that my branches are disappearing. If I click here on this little icon, I can see that there is a message, and actually it says that oops, okay, just click somewhere else to make it disappear. It said that it's using a force which is on a parent generator, and there is actually a concept of passes of generation in Speed 3. So if you see here in the generation tab, there is a generation pass. And for now, the bifurcating branches and the trunk extension are on the same pass. But these ones need actually the existence of this one to be generated. So actually I need to say that these bifurcating branch are on the second pass of generation so that they can inherit from the existence of these ones. So I put them on a higher pass to be able to use the precedent, the parent's force to affect them. So I still have one more marks here, and he say that I have a force, the late noise, which is actually not active because the late noise is applied after the forces. And here, as I'm using some force to define the shape of my branches, all the forces which are coming after are kind of parasites to the main look, so it's just deactivating it. So it's not a big problem, but I can just cut it here. So if I go down here in the noise, the late noise, I'm just going to put it to 0, and I should lose the exclamation mark normally. No, it's not. So maybe there is some other forces acting on that. And you say that it's just saying that it's not using them, so it's not a big deal. So yeah, let's activate the forces here. So now I have activated the two force. I can raise their intensity, for example, if I want to be absolutely avoiding the other branches. And normally now I have no more interpenetrating branches, but the look is less natural. So I would want to add some noise. So if I can't use the late noise, I can still use the early noise. So the early noise is actually applied before the forces, so it's kind of adding some variation in the orientation before applying the forces, so it makes some noise, but it's less controllable. I mean, I don't like it that much. Let's try it just to show. So here, let's put like 0.5 in the early noise. So it's not too bad, but you see that it's kind of broken, and it's a bit hard to control the frequency of it. And actually, here it brings one more concept. It's the accuracy of the underlying curve. So actually, speed 3 is simulating a curve, then it generates a skin around it. So the segment on the skin is not exactly the same thing that the segment on the curve. So the segment on the curve is going to evaluate the precision of the evaluation of the noises and the forces before to actually generate a skin. So to change that in the segment here, you have an accuracy tab here, and you're going to see that it's going to change a lot the look of my branch. So if I go up to 200, for example, it's going to sample a lot more the initial curve before to generate the skin. So it's not changing actually the number of polygon on my branch. It's just changing, yeah, the accuracy of evaluation of the noises. I hope I made it clear. So now it's changing the look a lot. So it's a good idea to change it that in the beginning if you know that you will have to use it, because it's going to distract more or less all the attributes we've done before. So here, based on that, we would have to go back to the spine, maybe reduce the early noise, and restart to tweak our forces. Like, for example, I might have to decrease a little bit the gravity to make it a bit less extreme. And I don't think this one is even the only responsible. The ancestor also here is taking his role, so I might reduce this one. Maybe increase a bit the negative gravity. So you have to basically redo most of the tweaking of your forces when you are in that mode. And you see that it's also much more sensible to the numbers. So it's why I don't like too much to use this early noise, because now you see that we can start to add some noise, and we will have a bit more precision on it. But still, the look is a bit soft. It makes some kind of waves, soft waves. I don't like the look as much as what it does with the late noise. So you see that actually we are going to use it for the roots, and it's going to look nice because it have this kind of wavy patterns. But for the branches, I kind of prefer to use the late noise. So I'm going to actually not use these forces for now. So I will just go to the forces and check them. I can reduce a little bit now the precision on my evaluation, because it's by default the 50 is working pretty nice, and I can use bigger number here, so it's just more convenient, I feel. So now I can just reduce the early noise, go back to some late noise, and maybe just increase the turbulence. Okay, and I find this one to be more controllable for the shape of what I want to do. So up, and now I can go back to the ancestors, maybe raising it back to the value it was at. And yeah, now it's a bit more controllable. Okay, so and now if some of the branches are not satisfying to us, we still have the options at the end to just like go into the node mode, choose a branch, delete it if it's problematic, or change its position, change, I don't know, this start angle or the amount of noise applied to it. So yeah, it's really depending on if you want to be hit super accurate, like for all the branches, and even though it's kind of breaking a bit the look of your tree, or if you want to yeah, just have a more easy to tweak tree and just have a few manual edit at the end. So here, as it's a hero tree, we are not going to generate a lot of them. We can totally decide at the end to just come and edit a few of the branches to just reach the look we want. So we've covered quite a few parameters here. It's at this point, it's really a matter of back and forth and just finding the proper amount of noise you want, and playing with the number of branches, the threshold of the generation. Like for example, if I go back here, maybe I can increase a bit the spacing if I have too much branches. So we will come back on this after, because when we generate other branches, maybe we're gonna have a different opinion on the shape of this one. There is one more very important point when it comes to generate bifurcating branches. It's the merge of the branch here. So if I go in the skin tab here, I can enable the welding. And if I go to script mode here, we're gonna see a bit better. This welding mode is gonna add some extra geometry here. You see this little piece of geometry, and it's gonna make a fade between the texture of the UVs of the main trunk and the UVs of the branch. And it's gonna help with like blending textures. So it's a nice trick they're using. So you have an offset to decide how far it goes. And here you have the spread to decide how wide it is. You have the upper scale and lower scale to decide the shape a bit of the disconnection. So it's nice to make it look more like it's actually a bifurcating branch. So I don't know why the amount here is not. Okay, yeah, it's working. It's just a bit sensible. Yeah. So as we did on the main trunk, we might go and play with the segment and add some noise, but I'm not gonna do it right now because I don't know exactly how it's gonna look with the extra branches on it, and it might become heavy quite fast. But actually, apart from the main trunk, the other branches might be a bit lower polygon because we're gonna have some branches and stuff that is gonna hide it anyway, and it depends a lot on how close you get to your tree in your shots. Okay, so in the next video, we're gonna continue adding some more branches here and start to make our tree look more rich.